Hi everyone, MindFlareRetro here. On September 25th, 2021, I attended the first annual World of Retro Computing Expo held in Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, about 100 kilometers or 65 miles west of Toronto. Now, stay with me for about 30 seconds while I do a little bit of a geography history lesson. The city of Cambridge is part of the regional municipality of Waterloo, Ontario, a region consisting of the three major cities of Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge, known as the Tri-Cities. This Tri-Cities region is the major technology hub of Canada, and the Toronto-Waterloo Region corridor, the area between Toronto and Waterloo Region, consists of over 15,000 tech companies employing 200,000 tech workers, making this area have a greater density of tech talent than the Bay Area, Seattle, or Boston. I'll include some links below about this Silicon Valley North, as it's sometimes called. It is very interesting if you are into the business of the high-tech industry. So, why am I telling you all of this? Well, circling back to World of Retro Computing, what better place to hold this inaugural event? The World of Retro Computing 2021 was an event founded and organized by Herc, a gentleman who has been an active member of the retro computer community in the Kitchener-Waterloo area for many years, and is a longtime member of the MindFlareRetro Discord. The event itself was fantastic, well planned, and well executed. Congrats on such a successful first-time event, Herc. Well done. Now, there were guest speakers, and a few surprise guests popped by via Skype and Zoom to say hi and let us know what they are up to these days. Pretty cool stuff. Herc asked me if I would be one of the guest speakers at World of Retro Computing 2021. Not quite in my comfort zone, but I did agree. I chose to speak about how I got into retro computing, how growing up during the advent of the personal computer affected my life, and how widespread and incredible the retro computer community was. Then I started to think, wouldn't it be great to also hear from other retro computer enthusiasts from around the world regarding their experiences growing up with what we now think of as retro and vintage computers? I thought that would be a pretty cool thing if I could pull it off. So I reached out to several international YouTubers with a like-minded enthusiasm for these old computers and asked them if they would like to participate in World of Retro Computing 2021 by answering a few questions in a short video. And I, in turn, would edit their video responses together into a shorter video to play at the event. Well, most of the YouTubers I reached out to were happy to contribute videos, and their responses were fascinating, as you will hear in a moment. I did have to edit down their video responses considerably in order to fit a 20-minute time constraint. So, hopefully as you watch this, I was successful at capturing how everyone had and still has a passionate relationship with the world's first home computers that they were exposed to at such a young age. The edited down video played at the tail end of my little talk at World of Retro Computing, and the feedback from people at the event was very positive, with a common theme, that being, isn't it amazing how similar all of our experiences were as young people, and how similar these 80s and 90s computers affected our lives no matter what country or region of the world we grew up in. This is the video that everyone watched at the event. I hope you enjoy it as they did.
Well, hello. This is Adrian Black from Adrian's Digital Basement, coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello from Canberra, Australia.
Hello from the Netherlands.
Hello from Texas.
Hello from Spain.
Hello from Virginia, USA.
Hello from Norway.
Hello from the United Kingdom.
Hello from Germany.
Greetings from North Carolina.
Hi, it's Robin from 8-Bit Show and Tell, sending greetings from Thunder Bay, Ontario, to everyone at World of Retro Computing down there in Cambridge.
The year was 1982, and my father was running a video store in Montreal, where I lived at the time, and he had connections to be able to buy things at wholesale. He thought it'd be a good idea to buy me a Commodore VIC-20, and I was just 7 years old at the time, so he took a little bit of a gamble, thinking that maybe computers were the future, and I might be doing something with them later in life.
Now, my first system back in the day was a Commodore 64, and it's definitely still a machine that I love and adore to this day.
My first computer was an Atari 400. This Atari 400, in fact. And I love this machine.
The first computer I ever had contact with was the Casio PB100 that my dad brought in one day around 1984. But what I consider my first true love, my first true computer, was this Amstrad CPC 6128, and it was love at first sight at a friend's house.
Now, my first computer was a Commodore 64. Before that time, I'd had experience with the Atari 2600 and the Philips Video Pack, as we named it. And even as early as 1981, I had some experience with the Philips P2000. But all of those faded in meaning when the Commodore 64 came out.
My first ever computer was the Commodore VIC-20, which I got in 1981 at the age of 6, and there's no question it completely changed my life.
My first computer back in 1983 was a small Z80 based computer called the Laser 200, and I actually learned to program BASIC on that one.
Now, back in the day, what was my first computer? Well, it's right next to me here. It was the Amstrad CPC 464.
I got my first computer for Christmas in 1987, and it was one just like this, a Commodore 64 in the Aldi variant.
Yeah, what was my first computer? It was a Packard Bell 486. I believe it was the Legend 700 model, and yeah, that's what that was. It was a PC. Got it around 1993.
The first computer I owned was a Timex Sinclair 1000 hooked up to a black and white Electrohome TV. And it meant I finally had the world of computing and programming available to me.
I loved that VIC-20. I programmed basic stuff into the night so many times. I seem to recall him telling me I had to go to bed because I loved that thing so much. Now, how did it affect me later in life? Well, I think it goes without saying I happen to operate a YouTube channel where I work on these retro computers. But even in my day job, I work in technology and I have my entire life, and I can definitely attribute that all back to that first Commodore VIC-20 machine I had when I was 7 years old.
My favorite game on the platform had to be Impossible Mission. I remember just firing it up for the first time and hearing that synthesized speech. Well, it was quite mind-blowing, and it's still a game that I'll pick up and play today. I never really got into programming, but I was definitely interested in how things worked and the electronics side of that.
When the Commodore 64 came out, it meant that I spent all my weekends and all my holidays over at my friend's house who actually had the Commodore 64. And they had this bread bin sitting on the floor in the living room. But because they didn't have any games with it, we just opened the manual and started programming that little basic program that is the sprite demo that does the little balloon thing. So right away on the first day, we started programming in BASIC. And that sort of gave the feeling that you could make stuff move on the screen. And that just felt like magic. Eventually, I bought my own Commodore 64. And that really set me on a path of learning about programming, learning about computers. And I actually went and studied information science after that. And it set my whole career, and I'm a programmer today simply because of that.
I remember seeing some games at my friend's house and I was just blown away, particularly Sorcery and Gunfight. I remember playing them for about 5 minutes and then I had a very clear thought. I want to make games like these. And that moment set up in motion the rest of my life. My parents got me that computer for Christmas 1986, I think, and I learned it inside and out. I did a lot of cracking of copy protections and wrote some games for it. Then I moved to the US, went on to get several degrees in computers, and eventually work in game development, which I'm doing to this day as an independent game developer. What this computer meant to me? Well, when it arrived, not a lot, because I didn't know much about computing. I was a pretty young lad at that time, probably 5 or 6 years old. I was pretty young. I didn't have much experience with computers whatsoever. But what I do know is when it was first switched on, I was completely mesmerized by it.
My father had a computer before. He had a TI-99. He sold it and brought home a Commodore 64, and that was my first contact with the computer. I played games on his one. One of the first ones was Hexenküche, which is the German version of Cauldron. And I learned programming in BASIC a bit on his computer. And when I was occupying his computer more and more, he finally decided to give me one for Christmas, and that was 1987 when I was 10 years old, and I fell in love with the Commodore 64, and the love kind of lasted to this day.
Later I moved over to the Commodore 64, and having those computers actually set me off to studying computers and electronics, and eventually it sent me off to a great career as a software engineer.
As a kid, I spent countless hours playing video games on it, but even more than that, it was the machine I first learned to program on. Thanks to books from my school and local libraries, I was able to learn Atari Basic, my Atari Basic cart right here, and that really helped lead me into an amazing career in IT and programming, as well as a lifelong love of electronics.
I typed in this Etch-a-Sketch type program for it that allowed me to draw on the screen, and that opened up many new programming ideas to me, which I continued to explore on my next computer, the Commodore 64. Once I started programming, I was hooked and took computer science at university, and then got into the telecom industry.
And what did it mean to me? Well, it meant absolutely everything. Computers were just the most exciting thing in the world to me at that point, so I was over the moon when our family first got a computer. I'd only used Apple IIs at school before that. So yeah, running across this thing all of a sudden in our living room, it was just an absolute epiphany, and got me started on that whole computing thing that I'm still doing somehow.
Well, a number of years passed and I was up here in Portland when a friend of mine, Dave, hit me up and said that he saw a really cool Micron PC on Craigslist that was new in box. So I thought, that might be fun to kind of get back into that. And that was really the first computer that got me back into retro computers. Well, everything after that Micron PC I picked up here off Craigslist sort of spiraled out of control into everything I do now. The YouTube channel, and all the machines that are surrounding me in the basement down here.
And as of a couple of years ago, the nostalgia bug bit me, as it does, and I bought myself another Commodore 64, and then had to buy a bunch of other Commodore 64s to repair that one. But that did lead me to starting up a YouTube channel and getting back into electronics repair. And it also introduced me to the awesome retro community, such as folks like yourselves.
In the 90s, we upgraded to an MS-DOS PC, 386, and I went off to college, discovered Linux and Quake, and this machine spent a lot of time tucked away in my closet. But in 2015, I dug it out, fixed it up, composite modded it, and began to rediscover my computing and gaming roots, and once again, all the fun just came flooding back to me.
Has the early exposure to 8-bit computers influenced my career? At this point, definitely yes, because I turned into a full-time retro YouTuber recently, which I would have never dreamed to do, but it's great fun and I enjoy it very much.
After 2 decades of working in the IT industry, I'd started to get a bit burnt out. As many do in that career. And I wanted to rekindle that flame. I never thought going back to try and rekindle the flame would result in this. The whole idea was to reignite the flame so I can get back into the modern day IT industry. But my God, my skills have faded. I've been doing this for 4 years now. Hopefully I can continue wallowing in my pit of retro here.
And really, that's what got me extremely excited to jump into retro collecting in adulthood, was the 8-bit revolution that I missed out on. I just sort of caught the tail end of by seeing Apple IIs in school as a kid. But other than that, yeah, it's like discovering that there were things like the Commodore 64 I missed out on, and the VIC-20, and the ZX Spectrum, and BBC Micro, and all those. They were just hugely exciting to me and really got me into collecting in the 2000s.
From the C64, I got into the Amiga and eventually Windows and Mac machines, but I kept on coding my C64. And also in the 90s, I started collecting all the other computers and game consoles I had wished for in the 80s. I also continued with video game development. I eventually realized my dream of being a video game programmer, working on the C64 DTV with Jerry Ellsworth, and then getting into Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and iPhone game development, and even doing some contract work on the C64 Mini and full size.
So years and years passed. I had an itch that kept coming back, and I didn't know what to do with it until I searched on YouTube, and I found a YouTube channel called The Classic Game Room by Mark Bussler, and that just sparked off all of the memories and everything that I liked about gaming. So I found a whole group of people online making YouTube channels, designing hardware, designing software. It's such a varied group. And I've met some of them. I've also met people that I've never seen before. People from Canada, people from the United States, from Scandinavia, from Japan to Australia, all over the world. I would have never known these people if it hadn't been for retro computing. And the other cool thing is that there's also a large group of young people who are coming in, who are learning about this platform of computing, that you can do stuff with yourself and you can make games and have fun with it. So that's, what the community is to me, is a bunch of people, like-minded people who don't mind being nerds and who really love the retro computing.
So what does the retro community mean to me? Well, it tells me that there are other people that care deeply about the same thing that I care about, and hopefully it means that these computers that we grew up with will not be forgotten. We're passing our knowledge and experience on to future generations, which I really think that's important, that future generations be able to look back and see the types of computers that we grew up with.
What does the retro computer community mean to me? It means everything. Whether I was doing this or not, I mean, before I started YouTubing, I just loved the community. I loved the acceptance of the hobby. I didn't know anyone really in real life before I started YouTubing who was into retro. So that online community was so welcoming when I first approached it. It embraced me, and I've made a huge number of friends through it.
The retro computer community in general has been amazing. People are very open and willing to share everything that they know with others. So I am thrilled to be able to give back to that community as well with my videos.
I've had amazing opportunities to connect with other people in the vintage computing hobby. I've acquired machines that I always lusted after as a kid, as well as plenty of machines I never even knew existed until I really got into this hobby. And it has really been an amazing thing for me, especially during the past couple of years of this pandemic. Being able to connect with this community has been such a lifesaver, and I'm so grateful for everything that the community and these machines have brought me.
And what does the retro computer community mean to me? Absolutely everything. I would not be doing what I do, making LGR things and covering old hardware and software and all this stuff, without the community. Like, the entire reason that I have a job right now is because of the community being very supportive and, sending things in or offering help and assistance. It's immeasurable, and I would not be nearly half as knowledgeable as I've luckily been able to become without folks blazing the trail and doing, honestly, most of the work years ago that I can jump in on and then learn from myself, and then just hopefully build upon it and show some things that haven't been documented, having been inspired by others in the community that have come before.
Along the way, I've made many friends, both online and at the various retro events I attend, and those friends are a huge part of the fun of this hobby, so enjoy each other's company.
As far as the retro community at large, as in around the world, it's just amazing to me that there are so many cool projects being worked on with regards to these old machines. Who would have thought that modern things would still be made for all these ancient computers, from games to hardware to documentation, and just people pushing these machines beyond the limit of what they were designed to do. It's simply amazing.
Enjoy the world of retro computing and have a good time there. I hope to see some of you in person at one point or another, maybe, hopefully. In the meantime, if you feel like it, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's just called Jan Beta. Have a good convention.
Well, turns out I'm not going to be there this year, but maybe next time, eh? So a big thanks to everyone. I hope you enjoy the festivities. And if you want to find me, you can find me on YouTube at the Retro Channel and Twitter at the Retro Channel. Thank you very much. Bye.
I hope you all have a great time there. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. And I'll wait for that invite. I want to come over to Canada. Invite me to the World of Retro Computing 2022, please. I'll jump on a plane and I'll be there. Have a great time, everyone, and take care. Bye-bye.
If you'd like to check out some of those videos, search for Noel's Retro Lab on YouTube or Twitter. That's probably the easiest thing. And that's it. Thanks for having me over. I wish you all a fantastic World of Retro Computing event. I really wish I could be there with you this year, and actually I may be able to be there next year. We'll see. Anyway, bye-bye.
Thank you for letting me be part of the inaugural World of Retro Computing, and I wish you all a lot of fun. And if you have the time, go on YouTube, look for the Highlander, and perhaps I'll see you there. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, thanks for letting me be a part of the inaugural World of Retro Computing here in 2021. I hope it's an awesome show. Everybody have fun doing computing things, and yeah, if you want to watch LGR stuff, just type in LGR on your socials or YouTube or whatever. It's mostly YouTube is what I do. So anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good one.
Alright, thanks for having me here at the World of Retro Computing 2021. I wish you all the best and hope you have great fun at the event. Please visit me at youtube.com/arcticretro.
And so, thank you for letting me be a small little part of the world of retro computing, and I hope you guys all have a great time.
I'd like to say thanks for letting me be a part of the inaugural World of Retro Computers 2021, and I wish everyone a wonderful rest of the conference while you're there. Also, you can check me out on my YouTube channel if you so desire. It's at Adrian's Digital Basement, and there's also a second channel, Adrian's Digital Basement 2, but it's the square brackets, like from an Apple II. Anyhow, thanks very much, and have a wonderful time.
I really hope that everyone has an amazing time at this inaugural event. I'd like to thank MindFlareRetro for inviting me to be a small part of this, as well as making amazing t-shirts. And I hope everyone has an amazing time and continues to always love everything that these old machines have to offer. Thank you.